Good evening. I am Professor Amitav Banerjee. I am Editor-in-Chief, Medical Journal DY Patil, Vidyapeeth, and I was formerly Academic Editor of PLOS ONE also. And today, under the research methodology sessions, I will be talking of the emerging ecologies of misconduct, publication misconduct, and what are the challenges for editors and publishers also. Yes, you are all aware, all those who are in academics, right from student, resident, faculty, there is a lot of pressure to publish because there is a lot of rat race. It is not only rat race of individuals or individual faculty, it is a rat race. The institutions have also got into the rat race. Why? Because publication is given a lot of weight in the institutional rankings globally as well as nationally, national institution ranking, international rankings. So this has created a very unhealthy, there is a lot of pressure to publish. And it is not only pressure to publish nowadays. You have to publish to impact or perish. Earlier it was publish or perish. Now the slogan is you have to publish in impact, journals with impact factor, which is again a misuse of the impact factor. Impact factor was creator of impact factor, Eugene Garfield himself had said that this is only to rate the journals, not the individual faculty, but it has got distorted over time. And then there are a lot of metrics which has come up to rate a faculty and in turn to rate the institutions. And then these metrics people have started gaming the metrics. These are the recent developments these are not exactly misconduct, but they can come under questionable practices because metrics can also be gamed by having citation rings because metric depends on quantity, not quality. Then it depends on citation. Then there can be different citation rings. So some of the issues I will be talking. And then there is the advent of AI chatbot, chat GPT and other image, generative AI. All those also come handy for paper mills. There are institutions, there are universities who have been identified to run paper mills, just churn out papers. And these are some of the things which are coming in play and which is adversely affecting the research environment, contaminating the research environment. So I will be sharing some slides and I'll just see if I can share the slides. Yeah, this is the my presentation. I will be going through this. So emerging ecologies, because why ecology? Because this all this misconduct does not occur in a vacuum. There are many interrelated factors: promotion, tenure, rankings, retention of your job. So these would be the talking points. What are the types? These are some of the conventional ones. We will just rush through. Data fabrication, that is highly unethical. Falsification of data, plagiarism, and salami publication. These are the earlier ones. Gift authorship and ghost authorship. Gift authorship, person has not worked and you have given. Ghost is somebody else writes your paper. Then beyond these conventional misconducts, there are questionable practices which fall in the gray zones, like gaming the metrics, your impact factor, citation rings, number of citations, H index, I-10 index, citation rings. A group of journals may also indulge in that you cite from my journal, I cite from your journal. Then self-citation. Of course, self-citation can be easily identified. Fake peer reviews. There have been imposters as reviewers who have created a fake email and sometimes reviewing their own papers. So these all have been on record. Then AI generated content, research frauds and paper mills. And then we'll discuss what are the ways in which we can, to some extent, misconduct, we can check this. It's a difficult task. So this is the ecology now. Publish of Paris is passé by impact of Paris. Unrealistic research and publication goals. You must be feeling the heat. Commercial and career interest. There are commercial interest also. Like open access has come. There are commercial interest for journals. They get a huge amount for a paper. Particularly those high-end journals like BMJ, PLOS, they may charge up to 3 lakh for a paper. And then there are the small pickpockets, predatory journals, which may charge 10,000, 20,000. Those are the commercial. And there is a lot of discrimination also that this from Asian and African countries, they are it is looked down that they are predatory. But they are the big players who are charging 3 lakhs for a paper. So the commercial interest comes, career interest is there. Ethics is far left behind. And a person who tries to be ethical is left behind. And Ivan Orensky, the co-founder of Retraction Watch, which is a watchdog on publication ethics, has mentioned cynically questionable research practices are rewarded. The most common outcome of a questionable practice is a successful career. That's what he says. Stakes are getting higher and higher. Push to publish beyond numbers and towards impact. Impact is measured by metrics which are often questioned and misused. And then there is the Goodhart's law, which is in place, which is in play nowadays. That Goodhart's law states that as long as you are using any metric for assessment, after some time people start gaming it and that metric loses its validity. It starts from the school level. Every high school student gets 99%, 98%. So you cannot distinguish who is a good student and who is an intelligent student. In our time, it was 50, 60%. We used to be very happy. And very good students used to get. So now the school marks are also following the Goodhart's law and the publication. Everybody has got quantity, but nobody is judging the quality. Quality is managed, manipulated, match fixing by citation rings. And then, of course, these are the routine. Plagiarism is stealing like crime. And nowadays, many times, it is an act of innocence sometimes because we have a language problem. Most of our students may have done schooling in vernacular. Then there is rote learning from school, and the textbooks are mugged up and with a fervor reserved for religious text, lack of familiarity. These are some of the things which can. So ignorance, that many people are ignorant. Novice researchers that once I have given the reference, I can ad verbatim take the paragraph or sentence, full sentences without paraphrasing. So we have, as an editor, I have come to know the insights, the psychology of some are innocent, some are deliberate. And of course, there is outright lack of integrity. So some examples like from a reviewer, I got a feedback. The case report is good, and however, most of the introduction has been copied and verbatim from other sources and textbooks. Then the author has replied, but I have done review of literature. How can I do review of literature without copying for other sources? So these are the novice researchers who think it is textbook because in the exam paper also they write ad verbatim from the books and they think it is the way. So this is, you have to mentor them. You have to tell them what is paraphrasing. Then another example is one reviewer suggested some other reference to be added, otherwise good paper. The author added that reference and again copied it ad verbatim. And the author, when it went back to the reviewer got very annoyed because the whole sentences were copied. And he said, this has been plagiarized from my ear. And the author said, I was told to copy from this. And how he was perplexed. he thought ki if he changes the word, the reviewer will get annoyed. So these are some of the, we require some mentoring, we require some training, we require some holding hands to people who are otherwise honest researchers. They have to use their own words. Then self-plagiarism also, we have come after one publication, we saw the same paper ad verbatim published in other journal, because they think why it should be, it is my paper only, but it is unethical because you are increasing your count. So we have to publish a retraction. So that is afterwards, the paper was already published. And this is an unfortunate thing. Many authors in their desperation, they simultaneously submit to many journals which are not supposed to do. And then they start withdrawing and all. Sometimes we know that, yes, sometimes they don't answer to a technical queries or some language correction. We know that perhaps he has already published it elsewhere. And sometimes we do the Google search with the keywords and we find, yes. So this type of instances we also come across. Acts of omission and commissions. So we try to educate them. Of course, duplicate publication we do not entertain, but we try to educate on the nuances of plagiarism, and within the constraints of editorial responsibility and legality, we try to understand the author, and the innocent authors definitely, when we investigate, they cooperate with us, and we can make out, we can. Then these are some of the deliberate plagiarism driven by pressure of publish or perish. Many publish in predatory journals, of course, that is another issue. Highly unethical, deliberate plagiarism, highly unethical and deserves penalty. And one of the members of COPE, Committee on Publication Ethics, which is he also, to quote him, he says, don't go to a university that hasn't had at least one person fired for misconduct, because it means they are not looking for it properly. That only shows these type of misconducts are universal. If you have not found any, there have been no instances, that means they are covering up. That's what he says, of course. This is a very interesting case. We had got a paper. We sent it to a reviewer. It was some case of skin lesions in the back of the ear. And then there were some histological slides, some skin condition. And the reviewer was a Pakistani lady, and the paper was from India. And that shows the ladies can identify very sharp eye for any sort of jewelry. Forget the skin lesion, or the reviewer must have thought ki editor will not understand what is a skin lesion. So she pointed out in her review ki look, this has been on the right side is her paper, and the left side is the paper which was submitted to a journal. So the ear and the earring, she says, just look at the earrings. This is a similar earrings, and this image has been picked up from my article by this author of this manuscript. I mean, it was a coincidence, because we had the keywords to look for the similar papers, and this paper came up, and she identified it. And this is something interesting and we send it to the author. Look, you have picked up an image, and at least the earring is same. And so this is an interesting one. So these are just by coincidence, it comes to light. And of course, nowadays, perhaps there are image plagiarism and all. There may be softwares. Otherwise, earlier, it was very difficult. We can do plagiarism check for the text, but for the images, it was not there. But I believe there are some now. But of course, it's a very cumbersome process. Then even Nobel laureates are not are also vulnerable for misconduct, because perhaps they may be too busy and they may lend their name as co-authors. So that's why I would caution rather the senior faculty not to blindly give the name as for gift authorship without, of course, they may not have the time, and they may be giving some help and they may earn authorship, but unless. So this Nobel Prize winner has 13 retractions to his credit, 2 May papers, and this is from the Retraction Watch by Ivan Orensky. So the certain raw data labeled to be from two different mice might have been from the same mouse. So one mouse, they took different images, and without the earring also they identified it is the same mouse. So one has to be careful. And the issue of gift and ghost authorship, that if you are becoming a gift authorship, you are also vulnerable to legal liability. If there is a retraction, your stigma goes to you also. So you have to be very careful to lend your name. The HODs, I remember a junior faculty asking me in one of the presentations, sir, what to do if my HOD asks for a gift authorship? I can't refuse, even if he has not done any work. I said, it happened with me once. I published a paper, and since HOD insisted, I put his name also. In fact, I put his name as a gift, as a first author. And that paper became controversial. And then he was in spin. What do I do now? I said, sir, you have to take the responsibility. I can't help you. So this is the way you can defend yourself from. You do it once, your senior faculty will not ask you for the gift authorship again. I mean, I just one of those things. Then there are reverse image search tools. I am sure some of your technical people there may be working on it in open access systems, how to, because open access has led to this flood of manuscripts. Reviewers are overworked, editors are overworked, images. So they may be the for initial screening. I am not very much for there have been some schools which are recommending that reviewer work can be done by artificial intelligence. I am not for it because it requires human judgment, because you have to take a call on the motive of the person, so which AI cannot do. But I think perhaps in future, AI can do the initial screening for text, plagiarism check, and for duplication of images. I think that must be within and it can act as a deputy editor or deputy reviewer, and then it can go to the reviewers and all. And there are other tools are coming up, TNI image reader, so that perhaps in future that can be the year. Then sometimes these tools can also be having pitfalls. It's not foolproof. If you see standard, it's not actually plagiarism check. It is similarity check. Authenticate gives the similarity report. A judgment you have to do. The reviewer or the editor has to do, and sometimes it can mislead. Like software can generate false negative and false positive. Sometimes there may be no plagiarism, but the software may find some similarity because technical papers may have very common sentences, definition, words, and then sometimes it may fail also, false negative also, because it is some textbook you pick up which is not in the public domain, you pick up from other language. So there are ways to game the similarity software also by authors who are smart. And sometimes this can become a problem. We have faced a similar case I will be narrating. So we had a paper was published, and a whistleblower, so-called whistleblower from South Africa, wrote to us that I have read a paper, your esteemed journal, your journal, all that. We were happy. He was praising our journal. Then he says that this paper has got more than 25% similarity. Plagiarized. It is plagiarized, 229 words. It was a full paper, 229 words, and he has been very critical. It is unfair to publish in your esteemed journal. We were happy he called it, but I wish the editors will consider this an offense and this will compromise the quality of the journal. So we were very worried. Yes. Then we checked back. When we checked back, we found the paper which he is saying, from which this manuscript has been plagiarized, which was published in a journal, that paper was the paper which it was the paper written by the reviewers of the manuscript. I mean, the reviewers, he is saying, I mean, he didn't know that this paper is from the reviewer paper. Reviewer had written the paper. Then we replied, we wrote back that we have examined the matter. It would interest you to know that one of the referees of the paper was Dr. Greek name, Panagotiakis, the lead author of the paper, from which you say the paper published by us has been plagiarized. I mean, we looked for, the author also must have looked, and the reviewer must have given some inputs from his paper, and author must have incorporated, may have been some common words, but the reviewer did not say it is plagiarized. Actually, the reviewer should be the offended party. If it had been a true plagiarism, the reviewer is the best judge. Reviewer cleared it. So anyway, we again referred it to the reviewer also. Look, there is a whistleblower who says this is a plagiarized from your paper. Please comment on it. What do you think? So then, of course, when first we informed the whistleblower says that you are trying to cover up and your evidence and has been ignored, that you are ignoring. Yeah. He was in no way, I mean, concerned with it. It was between, if it has been plagiarized, it was between the reviewer and the author, but reviewer says it is not plagiarized. So anyway, since the would have was not satisfied, we again sent it back to the reviewer. We sought opinion of the reviewer. I read with great interest the exchanges. He saw the exchanges between the whistleblower and he says, my co-authors, I do not think that there was any kind of plagiarism. वो जिसके घर में चोरी हुआ वो बोल रहा मेरे घर में चोरी नहीं हुआ, वो विसिल ब्लोअर बोल रहा कि आप चोर को नहीं पकड़ रहे हो. I mean, this was, in simple language, this was the situation. At last, we thought the whistleblower would be satisfied, but whistleblower was very firm, very rigid. A similarity index, he is stuck on that similarity index. That's why I said this similarity index can sometimes mislead. The software says, I am going to report the matter to International Editors Forum, whatever he meant. We replied via our board and ready to face any correspondence. After that, he did not. So this, sometimes technical words may be there, some phrases may be there, but you have to see the whole. So this was a case where we found that the plagiarism, that's why you cannot leave everything to AI. The take-home message that plagiarism can mislead, they may be detect, the ideas maybe sometimes it fails to detect, sometimes it detects wrongly as it happened, and it can become a crutch and a problem instead of resolving the issue of plagiarism. So going strictly a percentage of similarity is laziness. It is like making a clinical diagnosis by looking at the lab results without examining the patient. And this is also becoming common nowadays. You go to the big corporate hospital, they will send you to 100 tests and 5% of the test will come abnormal because that is the distribution of test. I mean, and so they first the doctor has to see, then test. So similarly, first you cannot leave everything to the software to detect plagiarism. Then ChatGPT and plagiarism. These are the emerging topics. Authors using chatbots, that is the present consensus of COPE, should disclose the details in a transparent manner. Authors are accountable for the work performed by a chatbot. There had been instances where chatbot had been made an author, which is not permitted because the machine cannot take legal responsibility if there is a controversy. Most chatbots do not cite the references. So there are more chances that you will fall in the plagiarism track, where chatbot will give you everything. You have to, chatbot is just like a Hanumanji. He brought the whole mountain. You have to take out the Sanjeevani. You have to be like the healer who knows what is Sanjeevani. Chatbot doesn't know. Like Hanuman, he picks up the whole mountain and brings it. So it is then authors have to take out the wheat from the chaff, from the whole large amount of, and try to do the reverse. Check the sources and cite them, and also paraphrase them because it may use ad verbatim. Paraphrase the text. So these are this is very interesting. This is how there are some giveaways. You see, an idiot using AI can leave important clues. This is a Elsevier journal, Scopus Index. The very first sentence, I have magnified the first sentence on the left. The first sentence in the introduction begins, surely here is a possible introduction for your topic. So the person has just taken it from chatbot, reproduced the introduction, did not even read it. because the very first sentence is saying, here is possible introduction for your topic. That means the whole introduction, or maybe the large part of it, has been given to chatbot, and that is okay. The idiot has used the chatbot, but what is problematic is the editor, the desk editor, the reviewers, none of them, the copy editor did not read the first sentence of the paper. I mean, this is something, and this is a journal which is a fairly reputable journal. You can check surfaces and infection, and it is a Elsevier journal. I mean, this shows that there is overwork. Things are slipping through. The system is failing of quality control. And because of all the ecology, I said the ecologies, emerging ecologies of the rat race, the publication, this is failing. And of course, I think it must have gone, some whistleblower from Africa must have sent it to the journal, some communication. And this time, perhaps they could not. I mean, it is very plain. It is one of the very stupid things to have happened. And the paper was ultimately retracted. And of course, they did not give this reason that we missed looking at the first sentence. They gave some other reason, get duplicate paper and all that. Okay. So anyway, it is retracted, but the very fact that this may be just the tip of the iceberg. These are certain signals. Then what are the misconducts, questionable practices? Papers earn more worth based on metrics which can be gamed. As I said, citation rings, number of, you cite my work, I cite, and sometimes AI has identified the nexus, that these are the rings with a particular pattern. So that can be identified by AI, that these are citation rings. But anyway, as we have seen, the blunders are also missed by reviewers and journals. And they gain the metrics before anybody reads the paper. That is I mean, it is like a counterfeit currency. Without using the currency, it is a subprime loan. I mean, you are estimated, you are appraised before your money's worth is, before it is checked, before whether your currency is genuine or fake. So paper first used to be read and then appreciated. Now, yeah, you have published in a high impact factor journal. Again, those impact factor is being misused. That is not for all librarians will know. It is for journals, the impact factor, not for individual, but it has been misused rampantly. The contents may not have any impact, but metrics is having the impact. 500 rupees note, 1000 rupees note, that is it may be counterfeit, but it is having value. The misuse impact factor gives currency before anyone has read it. Prepaid. The inventor of impact factor, Eugene Garfield, viewed that in the wrong hand, it had been misused and it is being misused. The neoforms, fake peer reviews to get published in high impact journals. They are fake reviewer accounts. Hacking journal databases. That's why now journal databases also open access, and other databases also. Sometimes other journals also are targeted. Internet scams are going on. So hacking of journal databases. Adding additional authors in papers already in press. And then there are rates also in first author so much rate, second author so much rate. So all these rackets are going on. Setting up citation, I have already mentioned. University set up paper mills to boost publication counts. They can students, and they will be generating paper mills. They will be generating data from paper mills. So this is another problem. And then remedial action. How you do the remedial action? Additional authors in papers, setting up citation networks among authors. University set up paper. The line between misconduct and questionable practices keep getting blurred. In this academic anarchy, cynics can be forgiven. Critic, again, I am quoting him again, the Ivan Orensky. The most common outcome for those who commit fraud is a long career. So how do you take remedial action? First, establish there is a misconduct, difficult in some cases involving questionable practices which may not reflect on the true worth of the paper, for better or worse. Flawed research, on the other hand, harm humanity. So it can cause harm It is something like an untested drug, because people may use the paper for treating the patients. Sometimes people may read and get misguided. Other researchers will get misguided. When there is a clear-cut evidence, paper should be retracted. The sooner, the better. Then these are the COPE guidelines. COPE has published a list of situations where editors should consider retraction. Retraction, when clearly indicated, laudable as a post-publication self-correction of the literature. Honest authors can also retract the paper after publication if they find some shortcomings. When clear indications should be retracted as soon, retraction should carry labels like a cancelled check. Paper should be marked retracted on online sources. And of course, according to Ivan Orensky, retraction unable to keep pace with ingenious methods to game the publication process. So very less percentage of fraud, misconduct is being detected. It has become a faceless, nameless. It has become like a mafia of smuggled counterfeit literature. Like you have got fake drugs mafia, you have got narcotics mafia, and a don is behind them. So they are academic dons who facilitate such type of paper mills and other things, which are nameless, faceless, because everybody is in the rat race, institutions and all. You can't blame a particular person. Everybody is caught up in this nexus, and they are mafias because it has become commercial. Open access and it's become commercial. The earlier journals also were charging from the readers. This open access is charging from the authors at exorbitant costs. So there is a lot of commercial conflicts of interest. So there is a academic mafias and don. If conclusive evidence either way is a long time is coming, editor in the interim may issue an expression of concern. At least the readers are see the paper cautiously. Do not take it at face value. Bootlegging of counterfeit literature. So this has become bootlegging of faceless academic don. You see, face is of a image generator, generative AI. On right side text generation, on left side image generation. Dawn को पकड़ना मुश्किल ही नहीं नामुमकिन है. So it is very difficult, and it's a difficult challenge for editors and publishers. See, so these are the conclusion. Macro environment of publishing should be cleaned. Unhealthy competition. The accrediting bodies should change the criteria. Stop using publication as a metric. Then retraction should be rewarded. Researchers reporting scientific fraud, which are genuine fraud, should be rewarded instead of being ridiculed or harassed. There have been instances where whistleblowers are harassed, there are legal action against them, so nobody likes to stick their neck out. Publishers can have a corpus to play whistleblowers like bug bounty for ethical hackers. So this has been suggested by Retraction Watch. Academic institutions can give incentives to those attempting to correct the literature. Very difficult in practice. These are all very idealistic. All retractions should not be setbacks. Those self-correcting should be appreciated. So a lot of... so these are the references, some of the references. I will be putting this in the playlist of publications. You can. And thank you. So Dawn को पकड़ना मुश्किल ही नहीं है, नामुमकिन है is the take-home message. So I will stop sharing. Thank you. I will be putting up in the playlist.